What's your financial goal? You want more money? Turn what you know into dough. Start hanging out with the people who have it. You create wealth on your own terms. It is not only your rights, but your duty to build wealth. You are fiscally fabulous, and it's time to enjoy your legacy.
You're listening to Fiscally Fabulous with Dr. Teresa R. Martin, Esquire, a podcast that aims to provide you with the tools, guidance, and encouragement you need to build your wealth, enjoy your wealth, and leave a lasting legacy. Dr. Martin is an accomplished attorney, speaker, business consultant, and real estate strategist, an all-around self-made success who provides highly sought-after expert consulting in the creation, growth, and maintenance of generational wealth.
This is one of my favorite topics. For many of you who've been with us for 10 years or longer, you know that this is my thing, right? Creative financing, creative real estate is my thing. I love it. My story, if you know anything about my story, that I had to do creative real estate and creative financing after 9/11, after finding myself in foreclosure and then bankruptcy and my credit going down from 810 and 887 to 437. I couldn't go and get money from a bank without a gun and a mask. You know what I mean? I had to do some stuff. So I couldn't go and get traditional financing with a 437 credit score, right? So that was my whole walk into creative financing and creative real estate, right? It served me well because I was an attorney, but it's just something that you can still do. It's something that you can always do. The only difference is you got to know what market you're in, right? Creative financing doesn't always play nicely in a seller's market. So when you're doing creative financing, you really need to find out whether or not you're in a buyer's market, a seller's market, or that neutral market that we talk about, which means that you're moving from buyers to a sellers or sellers to a buyers, right? So you got to know what market you're playing in and what playground you're in when you're trying to introduce creative financing into your toolbox to present to a seller. Okay? So that was my thing on that.
Join a community of like-minded female entrepreneurs and get peer-to-peer mentoring, profit accelerator optimization, financial literacy development, business education workshops, and a network of winning ladies. Generational Wealth Zone is for the go-getter female entrepreneurs dedicated to building wealth. At Generational Wealth Zone, we work with you, for you, and beside you and our fiscally fabulous members. EnjoyYourLegacy.com, 646-437-6003.
So let's talk about it. This training is evergreen. So irregardless of if we're in a Trump era, in a new president era, in an up market, a down market, doesn't really matter what kind of market you're in. Creative financing will always have a place in your real estate and or business toolbox. How you implement it is the only thing that's going to change. But the strategies in and of themselves will not. Okay? So who is this for? So this is for new investors with limited capital or credit issues. It's also for investors struggling to get bank approvals or will struggle to get bank approval under the Trump era policy changes, right? And you need to stay abreast on what that is, what that looks like, because things are changing like daily. I would even just say minute by minute. I can't keep up. And then also for those entrepreneurs who are also interested in diversifying into real estate, it's for you if you're ready to think creatively and boldly, right? Because this is the time for creative strategies. This is why we're looking at different markets. This is why we're looking at doing different strategies. This is why maybe digital real estate or digital assets may not be my bag right now, especially looking at how the market going wonky, but real estate is always going to be my baby, right? So the power of creative financing is something that if you're, after this session, I really want, if you are a REIA member, especially if you're a core, set up a strategy session with me, because I need you to work out your business plan and your strategy so that we can review it. And we want to make sure that, everything, your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. Okay. So the power of creative financing helps you break down those barriers, right? Because creative financing, it provides you the opportunities for getting into real estate with limited capital or limited credit. You can go into different markets with just a little bit. You can get in with business lines. You can get in with zero. You can get in with limited, right? It just depends on who you're talking to as far as a seller and how you're exuding that trust factor, okay? The flexibility is that it allows you to adapt to any market condition. These strategies help you avoid the reliance on traditional banks. And that's one of the things that we're gonna have to do now, because a lot of us are going to be priced out, or we're not gonna have the means to get traditional bank financing. So we're gonna have to look at creative ways in order to do that. And then it also creates that win-win solution for us, right? These strategies, it benefits buyers, sellers, and agents, real estate investor agents specifically, and it helps them foster long-term partnerships, and it helps you with the increased deal flow, because now you're not really limited to what you can do, and the deals can keep flowing because you're not gonna run out of money, okay? That's why creative financing is so important. And for investors, it benefits you because you can acquire properties with little to no money down. You can build a portfolio without exhausting your savings. Because every time we mention this, I want you to remember the 4 walls. You always want to protect your 4 walls before you start investing, right? Because you need to make sure that food, clothing, shelter, and transportation is taken care of, right? Those are things that are your safety net. Anything that comes outside of that, then you can look at throwing a little bit into savings, into your wealth account. Because if you've ever played the Millionaire Make a Game at our game night, you understand that you can only buy assets, or should only buy assets, with your wealth account, not from your paycheck, right? So those are some of the things that we talk about in game night, but it's definitely something that's in real life. For my investor agents that's out there, you can offer your clients unique solutions that help differentiate you from other agents, right? A lot of other agents are just looking at regular financing. Can you get a mortgage? Can they qualify? And all this. But if you come with these other solutions and you have creative financing knowledge in your tool belt, you now differentiate yourself from all those other investor agents or just traditional agents that's out there. It also helps you leverage creative financing to attract investor clients that can close more deals, especially outside of your local market, right? So if you have investors that happen to be in New York, but they're looking to invest in Memphis or Knoxville or Oklahoma City or Indianapolis or some of the other places that we have boots on ground, then you want to make sure that you have some creative strategies that you can offer to them, okay? And then lastly, it helps you in market expansion. You can access deals in competitive markets where traditional buyers will struggle because they can't get a mortgage. They're not looking at anything else, but you got the toolbox that you can actually now pull out your hat and pull out some of these creative financing strategies that I'm getting ready to show you, okay? Or reinforce for most of you, okay? And then you also can build a reputation as a problem solver to increase referrals and repeat business.
When life gives you lemons, draft a business plan, call your girls, and build an empire of lemon-inspired beverages. Because a real investor understands that in these times, you have to have more than one gig. It's not simply lemonade anymore, boss ladies. Nothing happens until you decide to change your life. But when you do, make more than just lemonade. Oh, and do it in great company. Call us today and build your empire.
You need to be like the go-to person for something, whatever that something is, right? So if your something is, you're going to be a connector. You're going to be the person who finds an investor and they want to invest in Cleveland. You're going to be the person that's going to have the connection in Cleveland, and then you're going to put those people together, and then you're going to somehow benefit from that, right? That's a creative deal. Not necessarily that you're investing in that deal, but creatively, you are creating money or some type of revenue that can be generated that then you can throw into some real estate, right? Either way you look at it, you need to be making money however you can to throw into helping you build or expand your real estate portfolio. So the first one we're going to get into is what most people know as seller financing. Some people call it seller financing, some people call it owner financing, but it's the same thing. It's basically when the seller acts as the bank and the seller is offering you up terms where you make payments directly to the seller, and it's all negotiated privately between you. There's no hard, fast rules, right? That's what it is in a nutshell. But how it works, that's where the creativity comes into play, okay? So the buyer and the seller is going to agree, right, on a purchase price. You're gonna agree on the interest rate, and you're gonna agree on the payment terms, right? And then the buyer is going to provide the down payment, and the seller is gonna retain that lien on the property until that loan is fully paid off, right? You're not gonna get the deed until that's fully paid off, okay? And then the buyer, it gains immediate possession and ownership rights, but the seller is gonna hold on to the title. That's gonna be the collateral. Usually that's put into escrow, okay? This is what's gonna protect the deal. But the beauty of it is that although you don't have the title, you actually have the possession. So you're acting as owner. You can rent it, you can do whatever it is that you wanna do, and you're doing seller finance terms. And then when that term is over, that's when, you will get the deed or the title for it. Okay. Now it's a contract for deed or something like that or whatever, but you're protected, but it's just you're not going to go into the records and find that this is your property. Okay. The benefits that come with that is, one, it's awesome. I can do this deal in my sleep, right? The benefits are really good, right? Because it's lower upfront costs, since the seller may require a smaller down payment than a traditional lender. They might require none, might have it on the back end, right? It's so creative. And the flexibility in that is you can structure the terms, and the terms have to be a win-win for everybody around. So this is not a time for you to be greedy. It's not a time for you to really just think about how you are going to benefit or whatever. It has to really be something that's beneficial to all parties involved, okay? And then it also allows you to access properties that you might not otherwise qualify for in traditional financing terms. So here I give an example of a seller who owns a property free and clear, and offers to sell the property for $200K, and with a $20,000 down payment, which is 10%, and a 6% interest rate amortized over 15 years. You can have it amortized over 30 years, but the balance needs to be due in 15. You can be so creative when it comes to that. Seller financing should always be on the top of your list when you're going after property. So if you're going after a deal, the first thing that I would ask the realtor, I would ask whoever's off the seller itself, if you're going after a FSBO, will you offer terms? Which is the same thing as would they be creative or hold a note or whatever the case may be. A lot of us know about mortgage notes. The owner financing strategy is really creating the note. So while I'm talking about it from a buyer standpoint, you as a seller, as an owner, you can also offer seller financing to an investor or a homeowner. And that would be what we consider creating the paper. You're creating a mortgage note, okay? So that's seller financing, okay? So if you have any questions on that, please put it in the chat or hold it until we get into Q&A. And so the pros and cons of this. So the pros is that you avoid bank bureaucracy. You don't have to worry about going through all 18 million qualifications and pre-qualifications and this documentation.
So much has changed in the world, and reasons for legal counsel are many. With the law offices of Teresa R. Martin, PC, you walk in looking for solutions, but when you walk out with a growth mission and a support network. Get an attorney in real estate and business who knows and understands how to eliminate debt. Teresa has built an empire designed to grow businesses and strengthen communities. martinlegal.com.
I didn't get that documentation. So you avoid that. Also, a pro is low or no down payment, right? So it's possible to get very low, maybe 3% down. Some instances, depending on how much the property is being offered at, will determine if you go in as little as $1,000, $1,500, okay? It's also great for legacy and distressed sales. A lot of times, inherited property, they just want to get rid of the property or whatever the case may be. They don't really want to go through that whole loan process or whatever. There's a way that you can just go and offer terms to them. The cons, some sellers require large down payments because they don't trust you. They don't know you, so they might require a higher down payment, and they may ask for a balloon payment after a few years. sometimes with Dodd-Frank, can't really do this, depending on who you are. I don't really operate in B2C. I'm only operating in B2B. So that consumer protections and things of that sort really doesn't come into play in my world, but it may come into your world if you're offering it to anyone that's not a company, an LLC or a C Corp or something like that, right? So you want to pay attention to balloon payments. And if you're on the sell side, you want to make sure if you can offer balloon payment. So that's what I mentioned, that you can amortize it for 30 years, but you may say they have to pay you in full at a balloon at 15 or 5 or whatever the case may be. But they get an amortization of 30 years so the payment can be low for that duration. And then that gives them time to get the money up or whatever the case may be, and then pay the balance off. Okay, so that's seller finance.
This has been Fiscally Fabulous with Dr. Teresa R. Martin, Esquire. If you would like to learn more on how you can build generational wealth and leave a lasting legacy, go to www.enjoyyourlegacy.com and be sure to subscribe. Thank you for listening. Until next time.